They called him the king of cocaine, Pablo Escobar, the face of the Medellin cartel, the billionaire outlaw who flooded America with cocaine and turned Colombia into a war zone. But that is not the whole truth.
As many people want to believe that Pablo Escobar was the king of cocaine and everything, they can believe that.
Because in the shadows, there was another man, a man you probably never heard of, who never sat in a prison cell and never even stood trial.
But the man that was really the king was Ochoa. And not Fabito, the poor man, it was the old man. The old man was the silent man who never did a day in jail, who really controlled Escobar.
The Ochoa family was a highly respected family of ranchers with a great deal of influence in their home city of Medellin.
While Escobar was gunned down on a Medellin rooftop and his allies erupted behind bars, this man lived like royalty, respected, celebrated, and untouchable.
Here lives a man believed to be one of the most powerful cocaine traffickers in the world.
Fabio Ochoa is considered by many as a godfather of the business.
Some intelligence officials charge that you and the members of your family are the biggest cocaine traffickers in the world.
Yo no sé de que hablen mentiras y cosas.
I know nothing of lies being told. This doesn't interest me.
When he died as a free man, being one of the richest men in Colombia's history. And to those who knew the truth, he wasn't just part of the Medellin empire, he was the real godfather of the whole operation. He was the one pulling the strings, the one who got away with everything. This is History with Magnus. Please consider to subscribe, it really helps out the channel a lot, and blah blah blah, let's get to it. Fabio Ochoa was the patriarch of the wealthy Ochoa family. And unlike Escobar, he preferred the saddle to the spotlight. Born in 1924 in Salagar, a tranquil and coffee-growing town, Fabio grew up far removed from the bloodshed that would later consume Colombia. By the 1960s and 70s, Fabio had amassed considerable wealth and influence. He was no street enforcer. He was a caballero, a gentleman of the horse. His vast ranches were showcases of tradition and prestige. There, he bred and trained Colombia's prized Paso Fino horses.
I am well known by all the horse breeders in the world. My life has been honorable, and I can tip my hat.
To the public, he was a sophisticated horseman, impeccably dressed, mingling with politicians, businessmen, and celebrities. If you met him at a horse show, you'd see only the charm, the polish, the pedigree. You'd never suspect his family's deep entanglement in the cocaine trade. And that was the genius of it. Fabio had mastered the art of camouflage. Fabio had several children, with 3 sons, Jorge Luis, Juan David, and Fabio Jr., would become notorious in their own right. By the late 1970s, the cocaine economy in Colombia was transforming from scattered smuggling operations into a coordinated international industry. The United States' appetite for the drug was insatiable, and the profits were staggering.
And my clients weren't these people that you would think they would be, like these street people.
If anybody had cocaine, they had to be an airline pilot.
Real estate people down here.
Doctor or attorneys.
I had lawyers, I had doctors.
Somebody that could afford what it cost.
They were called weekend warriors. During the week, they wouldn't do anything, but on the weekend, they'd just go from Friday night till Sunday and do this stuff.
At the height of its power, the Medellin cartel exported 4 times more cocaine than the rest of the world did into the U.S.
Was directly involved in importing 80% of all cocaine that was imported into the States. He made astronomical sums of money, counting in the billions of dollars.
What had once been small-time contraband smuggling, often involving stolen cars, cigarettes, or marijuana, was rapidly being replaced by the white powder that would reshape Colombia's fate. It was during this period that the Ochoa family crossed paths with a rising smuggler named Pablo Escobar. Escobar began his career moving small shipments of contraband. The Ochoas, on the other hand, already had wealth from legitimate sources, but they were also early investors in cocaine production and export. The link between these two worlds was Carlos Leder, a flamboyant Colombian and German trafficker with a taste for grand schemes.
Carlos Leder is not as popular of a character as Pablo Escobar, but if it wasn't for Leder, the world might have never known about the most famous drug lord in history. Leder was directly responsible for Escobar becoming as rich as he did. He revolutionized the cocaine trade and imported tons of drugs into America, something which no one had done before.
Leder's father was hardcore Nazi, something his son would inherit, idolizing Hitler and inspiring his son to have thoughts of grandness for himself.
He even established a neo-Nazi party, planning to eventually overthrow the Colombian government. Carlos was loved and hated. He was considered both intelligent and a jester, and ultimately became the enemy not only of America, but also of his friends.
Leder was already working with Jorge Ochoa on plans to fly large cocaine shipments into the America. He saw potential in Escobar's logistical cunning and violent ambition, and each side brought something vital to the table. The Ochoas brought finance, legitimacy, and political connections, while Leder brought smuggling contacts and an audacious risk-taking will. Escobar brought ruthlessness, organizing skill, and an iron will to protect shipments at any cost.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
This wasn't the birth of the formal Medellin cartel just yet. It was more like a federation of powerful partners, pooling resources and influence. Then here, Fabio Ochoa introduces Pablo Escobar to the journalists present.
Don Pablo Escobar. Don Pablo Escobar.
Alongside other key figures like José Gacha, nicknamed El Mexicano, they built an integrated drug empire. They bought coca paste from Peru and Bolivia, refined it in Colombian labs, then shipped it into the United States. The cartel operated with pilots like Mickey Monday and distributors like John Roberts, and smuggled and sold cocaine for hundreds of millions of dollars.
And I would hook up with Rafa, and Rafa would introduce me to the people he was working with.
We met, you might say, the elite of the drug business from Colombia.
And it would be the Ochoas.
This was Pablo Escobar.
People that you read about in books.
Carlos Leder.
You know, here I was, a kid from New York, never thinking that this would really happen.
However, Mickey Monday wasn't very impressed when he first met the Ochoas and Pablo Escobar.
They make it sound like they had, an office the size of this with computers and they got 40 secretaries. It's just a bunch of bums down there. They were a bunch of street thugs. They got lucky.
Fabio Ochoa let these people handle the business, but in reality, it was he who pulled the strings.
The Colombians have their own thing. It's a mafia, only it's a Colombian mafia. There was only one family at that time that I knew, and that family was from Medellin. So they have, of course, the captain and the head, the capo, which was, as many people want to believe that Pablo Escobar was the king of cocaine and everything, they can believe that. But the man that was really the king was Ochoa. And not Fabito, the poor man, it was the old man. The old man was the silent man who never did a day in jail, who really controlled Escobar.
You can check out John Roberts' full story here on my channel. It became so successful that in 1988, Forbes magazine included Pablo Escobar and Carlos Leder in their annual list of the world's billionaires. Leder was estimated to be worth around $2.7 billion and Escobar $3 billion in that period. There is no widely cited estimate of Fabio Ochoa's net worth when he died, but all of his sons were billionaires, so his fortune were probably in the tens of billions when you include his legal businesses too. Carlos Leder was arrested in Colombia in 1987 when Colombian police, along with US intelligence support, captured Leder after years of pursuit.
The ludicrous amount of money allowed him to do whatever he wanted, even practically buying his own island, on which he organized crazy orgies with dozens of people that lasted several days.
Leder was later the first high-level drug trafficker extradited to the United States, where he served 33 years. He was released from prison in 2020. I'm planning to make a video about the incredible life of Carlos Leder, so please subscribe so you don't miss that. In 1981, the Ochoa family's world was rocked when Fabio's daughter, Martha, was kidnapped by the leftist guerrilla group M19. Escobar, Gacha, and the Ochoas rallied together, forming a paramilitary group called Death to Kidnappers. They launched a brutal campaign of death and destruction to rescue Martha and retaliate against M19. She was eventually released without harm, but the incident had lasting consequences for the cartel. From that point on, the alliance between the Ochoas and Escobar was sealed by more than just money. It was cemented by loyalty and blood. The partnership wasn't just about profit anymore, it was about survival, and the Medellin cartel was now born. Escobar was the muscle, but Ochoa Sr. had the blueprint. He brought the money, transport network, and the elite respectability that opened doors. While Escobar and the Ochoa brothers ran production and distribution, Fabio kept the front clean, a wealthy rancher in public, but a godfather figure in private. He claimed, "I made my money honestly," yet reports and testimony points to a deeper role, pulling strings while others took the risk and the heat. In interviews, he distanced himself from his sons, laying the blame squarely on them, saying that what they had done was terrible.
In an interview with ABC News, he said that although his sons had done great damage to the United States and deserved to be punished, they would prefer a grave in Colombia to a jail in the United States.
Aquí también tenemos justicia.
We too have a court system. Let us punish our sons in our own country.
As the cocaine business exploded in the early 1980s, Escobar's public profile grew. He bought football teams, entered politics, built housing for the poor, and began a campaign of intimidation against the Colombian state. But after being kicked out of parliament, he didn't just bribe politicians. He openly declared war on them. The violence escalated to levels Colombia had never seen before. Car bombs in Bogota, assassinations of judges and presidential candidates, and even the destruction of an Avianca passenger jet in 1989 to kill one single target.
In 1989, determined to eliminate presidential candidate Cesar Gaviria, Escobar didn't hesitate to blow up an entire jet just to make his point. The ruthless plan aimed at Gaviria turned tragic when the candidate changed plans at the last minute, resulting in 110 innocent lives lost instead.
But this bombing was kind of the beginning of the end for Escobar.
Medellin became a battleground for Escobar's war of supremacy against rival cartels and also the Colombian and American governments. Escobar was offering reward money to anyone who would kill a Colombian police officer.
Escobar's open war with the government made him a first priority target, and he lived his last years as a hunted man. The Ochoa brothers, facing extradition, eventually surrendered to the Colombian authorities in 1991 under a deal that kept them in local prisons for a few years, rather than in US prison systems for decades. They also kept their fortunes. But when Fabio Jr. took up the drug business again, he was extradited to America, where he's serving a 30-year prison term. Fabio Sr., however, avoided that kind of legal scrutiny that destroyed Escobar, who was gunned down on a rooftop and his body displayed like a trophy. Fabio maintained his image as a horse breeder, even as suspicions about his fortune persisted. Unlike Escobar, he didn't die in a bloody shootout. He died peacefully in 2002 at the age of 78, surrounded by family. If Escobar was the kingpin in the public imagination, Fabio Ochoa Sr. may have been something more enduring, the chairman of the board, the man who built the foundation of an industry and let others handle the noise. If the cocaine business was a chessboard, Escobar might have been the queen, powerful, mobile, and deadly, but Fabio Ochoa was the player who moved the pieces. Please like and subscribe and put on all notifications so you don't miss next time I upload.